Tune in to the Diva Hustle Show.
Hey, you guys, thanks for tuning in to the Diva Hustle Show. Today, our guest is Tina. She's the entrepreneur CEO of Tina Planet Vodka, right?
Yeah, Tina's Planet Vodka, or just Tina's Vodka, whatever you want to call it. It's fine.
So, thanks, Tina, for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome.
So, tell me, how did you get started with making your own vodka, having your own business?
Well, I've been a buyer in the liquor industry at music venues for a long time. And then, we're pitched every brand you can think of between tequila, vodka, whiskey. And so through the course of all these tastings, I realized most of the domestic brands were full of pesticides or GMOs. And then the ones that were organic and non-GMO weren't very tasty. So I was like, can somebody come up with a domestic brand that's also delicious, organic, and non-GMO? And so I decided to fill that void. And I knew, being in the business, it's a very saturated market. But so that's why we decided to add something different when we made my vodka. We have this proprietary filtration that gives it an organic, it gives it a better mouth feel, and it takes out all the impurities. So when you drink it, you can taste and feel it's not a typical vodka, because even whiskey and tequila drinkers tell me that. So it's kind of like my day job really helped me create this just through life experience and seeing how there was a void that I could fill it. And with the experience I had and the people I knew, I got a good distributor. I had, sales right out the bat, right out the gate. So all of it really culminated in a very wonderful way.
Wow. And so you worked in the field. And so how has your experience, your high profile environment influenced the development of your brand?
Well, it did help me understand when I'm talking to other buyers what they need, what they're looking for, and how to talk to them. Because, you're dealing with the health department, staff calling out sick, plumbing problems, payroll. So it's like, let me just get in here real quick and, talk to you about how I can help your bar make more money and make your life easier with a product that's clean and good and that people will come back and ask for. And then just also being in the business so long, it's almost like a different language when we talk about buying.
So because the roles were switched, did you find like the adjustment was kind of hard because now you're on the other side of it?
Actually, yes, it's a totally different ball game. And being on the sales side, because I was always on the side that was wooed, and so now I'm on the other side trying to do the wooing, and that was a little bit of adjustment for sure. So yeah, you have to kind of just switch your thinking. But I know that I have such a great brand and such a great tasting vodka. Like I was actually just talking to someone in Palm Springs, and he looks at me and he's like, I'm a vodka connoisseur. It's going to take a lot to impress me. And I just looked at him and I'm like, challenge accepted.
Okay.
And so after we had the tasting, we were talking for a little bit. He's like, do you mind if I have a little bit more? And I'm like, of course, I knew you were going to like it. So having a really good product really just, it boosts my confidence where I'm like, you're going to like it. I know that. So that helps. But then you've got people who, in that world, they just like to say no.
Okay.
I know the type too. I've seen it before. So it's kind of overcoming those challenges and dealing with individuals and the egos. And then some people are super nice and some, it's a mixed bag. And it's definitely been a learning curve for sure.
Okay. And so Tina's Planet Vodka is 100% organic. What leads you to go that way, and how does the compliments align with the brand overall mission?
Well, I eat organic and non-GMO as much as I possibly can, just because I feel better when I do it. And then I've done a deep dive on research and farming. And have you seen the film Kiss the Ground by any chance?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, you must see it. It's on Netflix. It's a documentary film about how regenerative agriculture will basically fix all the problems in the climate and in our food supply. And so when you're buying products that are organic and non-GMO, you're supporting that, more of that in our food supply and on our planet. But when you're using not GMOs and other things like that, you're adding to that. So I really wanted to have my vodka support my beliefs and what I think is good for the planet. Going back to Planet Earth's natural wisdom, we don't have to use pesticides on everything. The bugs, the bees, all of it plays a role. And we don't, just because we don't know what it is, doesn't mean we just need to kill everything because it's eating the plant.
Right.
So I really wanted to have something that would stand out and be unique, because a lot of, especially the domestic brands, are full of GMO corn,
Mm-hmm.
GMO wheat. And yes, it's alcohol, but alcohol was originally created for medicinal purposes. And so when you have a good base that's from the earth, and I give back to the earth through the charity, you're contributing to something bigger than just a drink. And it tastes better, and it's better, your body knows what to do with an organic substance versus something that's been genetically modified or full of pesticides. And I think that that's what really gives you the hangover, is just, there's a lot of brands that are adding glycerin, high fructose corn syrup, sugars to the product, and if they stay under a certain threshold, they don't have to tell you. So
Right.
you could be having a stomach ache, a hangover, whatever from that, and not necessarily the alcohol. It
Okay.
depends. I can't say which one is happening, but we set out to make a clean spirit so that it's easier for your body to handle, because there's not all that extra stuff added to it. And
Yeah.
people tell me, I've had multiple people tell me that they never get a hangover from my vodka. That it's so
Wow.
clean. Yeah, exactly. They feel good. It also depends on what you mix it with. Like if you put a
Right.
ton of sugar and orange juice or apple juice, that's going to mess you up. But having a good, clean spirit, especially like tequilas, people say that too. A really good tequila, like, the old school way, it does not make you sick.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm not really a vodka drinker. Well, I'm not a drinker, period. Like I might do a wine and stuff like that, but I do what you said about like noticing the hangover part, because you can drink some stuff and be like, okay, I feel fine, and you feel like light, you know what I mean? And some things you just instantly, it hits your body a different way. So it's probably some type of, like you're saying, chemicals in it that we just don't know.
Yeah, and wine in particular, it's got a lot of glyphosate in it, especially domestic wine. Like when you're talking about Italy and imported, they don't use it like the American farmers do, which
Wow.
is sad. I wish we would, because when you watch Kiss the Ground, you'll be so inspired, because it talks about how we can you can vote with your dollar, support those farmers. And I tell people, 40% of the corn grown in this country goes to making spirits.
Okay.
If all of them went non-GMO, no pesticides, it would have a dramatic impact on our climate and on our soil and on our air, because it would pull all that CO2 back into the ground where
Right.
it belongs to feed all the plants. But yes, wine is I'll send you a list of brands
Yeah.
that are clean.
So how do you stay? The alcohol industry is forever like evolving, right? So how do you stay ahead of the trends and the competition?
Oh, that's a great question. I think really just telling my story, how it's an authentic story of, I moved to Los Angeles to be a singer-songwriter and working in bars and restaurants. I actually grew up in a restaurant in North Carolina, and just having an authentic story of a real person who took their day job and, that's how I got my job at the Roxy Theatre, was performing there, and being in my life the last 25 years. And that kept evolving. That's when I became the liquor buyer, and just having a true story and having a great product, and also aligning myself with like-minded people. Like if, I go into restaurants, if they don't care what they're serving, if they're, serving GMOs, seed oils, they're probably not going to carry my vodka.
Right.
you know so finding the restaurants and the bars that are like, hey, we're all, organic, free range chicken, all that, they're my clientele. So I'm just looking for the like-minded people, and trusting that, we'll all find each other and evolve that way.
And that's the thing, like knowing your target area, your market, where you're basically your niche is, like you're saying, like most of the restaurants that are, they're plant-based, or like you're saying, not with the GMOs in the food, vegetarian, those is pretty much like, and that's a good market to fit into, you know what I mean? Because now, like you're saying, as everybody's getting more educated on the products in our food and how the food is not healthy, and then you have this person that's growing these type of foods, and so it's really key in being able to carve your way out in that market. That's really good.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's interesting. Because there's so many restaurants, there's so many people, and you think about every bar and restaurant and liquor store and store, it's an astronomical amount of alcohol that's sold. It's kind of mind-boggling when I walk into a store and I see aisles and aisles of wine and beer and vodka. How would you decide? And I'm experienced in the business. I understand things, but if someone who's just a normal person, they'd just be completely overwhelmed. How would you choose anything like that? So
Yeah.
like I have QR codes on my bottles. I have my shelf talkers that have more information that's pertinent to that location. I'm from North Carolina, the ABC to control state. They just approved my vodka. So I'll say, North Carolina native owned vodka, UNC Chapel Hill alumna, things like that. Oh, okay, me too. Something where they can relate in the area.
Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead. Sorry. I just got certified non-GMO this week. We've been working on it this whole time, and the certification finally came through. So now I can actually use that logo on my bottle, and that will make a big difference because I look for this everywhere I go. And let me tell you, this is legit. They are very, very thorough. They don't just give this out just if you just pay for it. They ask every question possible. So I'm very impressed with the process, and it gave me much more confidence when I'm buying something with that logo. It is actually non-GMO.
How long did that process take to get the certification?
About a year and a half for us.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And just the back and forth. Okay, we need to see this process. We need to see how you clean things. We need to see this source, this thing. And, the distiller I work with handled most of the paperwork, but we were always on top of it and checking in and making sure everything was on schedule with that. Because putting it on the label is huge. Because the TTB, runs the federal law enforcement of spirits, and you cannot put this logo on there unless you're certified.
Wow, congratulations, because that's like really, really big. Because like you're saying now, I'm just imagining if I go to the wine and spirit, like yours will stand out because there's not a lot of vodkas that I know of that has that certification. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's another thing that people don't realize, the way our food chain, our food supply has been infiltrated by all these hidden additives. When you have a paragraph this long, we can't even read half of that. That's happening to the spirits and wine and beer. Wow. So yes, so it's just been infiltrated. So you as a normal person think I'm just drinking vodka or I'm just drinking tequila. Sometimes you're drinking caramel, food coloring, glycerin, and they don't tell you because you don't have to if you stay under a certain percentage. So that's one thing you have to look for. Look out for the brands that are saying these things. No additives. Only spirit and water. That's it. That's all that should be in your bottle. But so it's the same thing with food, and I've heard the same thing with cannabis. Wow. That a lot of have you heard that too? Yeah, because when I was just in California, they were saying read the label. There's a lot of crap in the edibles, and it's not healthy like it used to. I'm gonna say healthy, medicinal. It used to be.
Yeah, because what I found is that because there's no regulations on it, so they are like the candies and things like, so they're able to put anything in it, and who's regulating it? The FDA is not regulating it, so you got to be careful with it. I tell people all the time.
Yeah, especially being from California, it's like, yeah, it's a different world than it was.
And so, just tell us about the process, like of getting into the wine and spirit. How has that been, getting on like shelving space and making sure, like, I guess you're at the eye level? Is that like, is it hard, or how's that process?
It's very interesting because like in California, they have completely different liquor laws. So you can have spirits in grocery stores, liquor stores. So every store has their own process. Like I got into Total Wine and More, got into 23 of those on my own. And some stores do it alphabetized. That puts me at the very back. Okay. And then some have a female owned section. So, they kind of do whatever they want to do. And then I got into Albertsons, Vons, and Pavilions. I'm in a handful of their stores, and every store is they have a concierge in a lot of the stores I'm in. So they go through and curate how they want their shelves to be. And you can ask, hey, can you put me up here? Like I was at Total Wine, I was literally the last brand in the very corner. No one could even see it. And I asked the guy, I'm like, hey, is there anything we can do about moving up here? And he's like, we just advertise it. That's it. We're not doing anything else. So I was like, okay. I don't want to argue with him, but then like in North Carolina, it's ABC store. So it's controlled by the state. And the same thing, they can do whatever they want as far as where they put things. They do have a North Carolina section, which is awesome. I'm usually in that one. I've seen my bottle in a very good placement, but every store is different. Every store has a different procedure. Like the big chains like Albertsons, Vons, Pavilions, I got approved back in May of 2022. What year are we in?
I know, I'll be like that.
Yeah. Yeah, in May. And then the first time they actually ordered a bottle after everything was implemented and everything updated was in November. Wow. So it can be a process. And then you've got like, when it's a local owned store, a mom and pop shop, they just order it to be on the shelf the next day. Okay. So it's very interesting because everyone has their own way of doing things and you kind of have to adjust to them.
Okay. So what's next coming up for 2024?
Well, now that I have my non-GMO status, that puts me in a completely different ballgame with a lot of the retailers. Like for a few of the high-end retailers I want to be in, they said you cannot say that you're non-GMO unless you have that certification. Wow. So now that I have it and I can really push for that, I should be able to get into more stores. And like you're saying, not many have it. So it's going to set me apart on the label, on the shelf, and people will see that and hopefully be drawn to it. And then really the vodka does stand on its own. It's delicious. I would not put my name on something that just wasn't good. Because that, especially as a buyer, I remember being tasted on like the green apple sake and like a chocolate wine. And like, why does this exist? It was a kiwi flavored sparkling tequila. And it was awful. This was like a hangover waiting to happen. So I was like, keep it simple and have a good product that's just going to be, vodka will always be around. People like to mix it however they want to mix it. And, don't be gimmicky with it. Have something that's you can stand on its own.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. Because I know I always wanted to get into like the wine business. And then I looked and I was just like, it just seems so competitive and can be like so overwhelming. And it's like, so my point is just congratulations to you getting in there, especially as a woman business, so every day you should be celebrating.
Oh, well, thank you. Actually, I come to that realization that every day is a new challenge and that, you just have to rise to the occasion because there's always going to be something. But I would encourage you, we'll talk offline and, because there is room. Because it really, if you think about it, every business is saturated, every field. And if it's something you're passionate about, then I'd say go for it. Because, that's what a lot of people told me. They still say, vodka is really competitive. I'm like, okay, yes, I know, but my brand can compete. I feel like I came up with something that can just ride with the horses and be out front. And, like that one buyer, he was like, oh, you know what? I have to tell you, you did impress me. I really like your vodka. I'm like, that's right.
Wow. And if people wanted to purchase your vodka, where can they go to purchase it if they're like, it's not sold in their local stores?
So right now on my website, I have a where to buy tab, and it'll take you to the page where it has California, North Carolina, and then online. So with the internet's really helped because before you had to be in each state. Now all these stores that I list on my website can ship to 44 states.
Okay, great. Yeah. Great. Well, thank you for stopping past. I'm going to purchase some. This morning when I saw, I was like, I purchase some, give them out for gifts. So everybody get their vodka cups together.
Thank you. Yes, that'd be great.
Thanks for stopping past. And you have a good one.
Thank you. You as well.
Tune in to the Diva Hot Show. Motivate the glow. We get your more info. Flick to my head to toe. I let the whole world know.